Samantha, I was wondering if I could talk to you. I hope that you aren't too busy right now. Is now a good time for you? It's important, and I don't think it should wait. Good evening, Andrea. I have a moment. What exactly is the problem? By some chance, does this have anything to do with my husband? Oh, well, how did you know that's what this was about? It just so happens that I was around town today, and while I've been out and about for work, I passed by your home this evening. Oddly enough, I noticed my husband had stopped by your home. It's not difficult to identify Trevor's ridiculous truck. So, am I right? This is about Trevor, correct? Or would it be better for me to say that you've got some nerve to be bringing my husband along to your home in the middle of the day? But then you already know about us? How did you find out? I didn't think you were like that, Andrea. Going and getting yourself involved with someone else's husband. I thought that you had a little bit more respect for the sanctity of marriage. Or at least respect for your friends. So, you really do know then. I don't know what to say. Trevor and I, well, we love each other. There's nothing else I can say, really. But how long have you known about us? When did you figure it out? Love? Is that what you want to call it? I think the term that you were thinking of is dishonest, unfaithful, underhanded. How about backstabbing? You'll have to excuse me if I don't find your glorification of an adulterous relationship anything but sickening. You can save your theatrics when you're dealing with me, because this disgusting relationship doesn't have anything to do with love. How could you be so cruel and full of hate? And who are you to speak so spitefully about us? There are no circumstances that would make our love any less true than others. I don't know who you think you are. Your hateful rant is absolutely unforgivable, Samantha. Like you're one to talk about what's unforgivable. Please. It doesn't matter what endearing words you try to use to make this out to be any better than it actually is. What you and Trevor are doing is nothing more than a despicable fling. You know it's the truth. Stop trying to sugarcoat this. Someone that would stoop so low as to take someone else's spouse from them is undeniably the worst kind of human in existence. Do you not feel any guilt? Samantha, I understand that you feel angry. You have a right to be upset. But Trevor and I haven't been seeing each other just for some kind of thrill. We really, truly love each other. It's not like either of us wanted to end up in a difficult situation with all these other loose ends. That's just how life works sometimes. And now the two of us are really in love. Loose ends is putting it mildly. You're talking about my relationship with my husband. Maybe you think you love each other right now, but it's not going to last. I can promise you that. Will you hurry up and tell him that he needs to come home? I can't discuss any of this with Trevor if I don't have an opportunity to speak with him. So, in other words, that means that you're going to be discussing getting a divorce? There's a lot that Trevor and I need to talk about now. It's obviously a decision that him and I will need to make together. We have children, after all. Say no more. It sounds like it's already a done deal to me. I can't believe it. I'm so happy. I didn't expect that this would go over so well. Nothing is going to happen if I don't have a chance to discuss all of this with Trevor. Don't make me ask again, Andrea. Right. Of course. It's important to talk things over, I suppose. I guess that isn't unreasonable. Well, I will let him know that you need to finalize everything. I can't be kept waiting forever, though. While you're discussing the situation with him, don't forget that Trevor and I already love each other. There's no point in trying to prevent the inevitable. I told you not to keep me waiting so long. How much longer do you expect me to just sit around? I don't want to have to spend any more lonely nights without the man I love. I was generous to let you have some time to get all of these discussions over with. Aren't you finished already? It shouldn't take that long to get this divorce settled. Open your eyes and take a look at the situation. His feelings for you are already long gone. He doesn't want to be a part of a loveless marriage. If I can be completely honest, I think it's terrible of you to try and keep Trevor and I away from each other. Hello? Trevor? We need to talk. Now! This can't wait any longer. Stop playing games with me. Where did you run off to? You can't keep trying to avoid this conversation forever. Look, I already know about the cheating. I don't care how uncomfortable confrontation makes you feel. You need to get over it so we can talk about what we're going to do from now. It has already been 4 days. You need to discuss this with me now. How long do you plan on keeping this up? The sooner we get this over with, the sooner we can move on. I already know that you haven't gone to Andrea's house. I don't know where you've run off to, but can we please just take some time to talk about this already? Whether we get a divorce or not, you cheated. That can't be taken back now. You need to own up to this. If you keep dragging this process out, I will make sure that you're paying alimony and child support till the day you die. I'm sorry for not getting back to you. Please don't do that. Finally! It took you long enough, Trevor. What have you been doing? And where have you been? Where are you right now? I've been staying in a hotel downtown. Is that where you've been all this time? Well, yeah. More or less. And how exactly have you been covering the expenses of this extended stay of yours? About that. I guess I've been using some of your money to cover it. I was going to mention that when we spoke, but... Is that so? I should have guessed. I'll make sure to get a copy of the bill sent to me so I can add this to the divorce settlement. Wait. Hang on a moment, Samantha. You don't need to do that. I will not have this conversation over text, Trevor. You need to come home right now. Stop messing around and wasting my time. Samantha, I can explain. Please, give me a chance to tell you everything. Whatever it is that you need to explain, you can do it in person. I told you we aren't going to have this conversation over text. Come home now. If you aren't back here within the hour, I swear. Okay, I understand. I'll be home as soon as I can. Please, just give me a little bit of time. Andrea, are you busy? I have a few things I would like to ask you about if you have a moment to talk. Well, hello there. Hopefully you've been busy progressing things along, yes? Have you finished up what you need to for the divorce? It does seem like we'll be heading that direction at the moment. But before that, just based on my perspective on the situation, as well as everything Trevor has told me about your relationship, and he shared quite a bit, I need to ask you your opinion on some things, if you don't mind. It would be nice to hear a different perspective on things about everything between you and Trevor, and see if there aren't any inconsistencies. Are you willing to be open with me about this? Sure, it doesn't make a bit of difference to me. What exactly are you getting at, though? What do you want to talk about? I appreciate it. Anyway, first of all, from what I've been told, I'm under the impression that you and your husband aren't yet divorced, but aren't living together, correct? Because he's working an assignment abroad? I have to say, I wasn't expecting you to ask me about that. But that is correct. We are not divorced yet, but we are living separately. Once I knew that there wouldn't be any more bumps in the road between Trevor and I was planning on filing the divorce as soon as possible. I see. What about you and Trevor? How long has this been going on for? I think it's been almost half a year now. Maybe a little longer. I believe it was around 6 months ago when Trevor started bringing your children to and from kindergarten, right? Seeing each other more and more became such a delight, and it wasn't long before we fell in love with each other. And when the kindergarten was closed? You'd been seeing one another at your home, I presume. What about your children? Who was taking care of them when you were spending time together? I have been asking my in-laws to watch the children occasionally so that Trevor and I could have some time to ourselves. His mom doesn't like me much at all, and we've never been close to one another. Fortunately for Trevor and I, she loves her grandchildren very much. She's always willing to watch them for me. I can imagine that it's difficult and quite lonely when your only son is gone for business so frequently. She always jumps at the opportunity to have her grandchildren around, though not for my sake. I was just grateful to have more opportunities to spend time with Trevor. It would have been difficult to find time otherwise. It's relieving to hear that you at least had some decency that you didn't get your children caught up in all of your antics. Still, I can't help but feel bad for your children and mother-in-law. Why on earth would you feel bad for her? I told you that she doesn't like me or treat me well. You are only looking at this from your narrow perspective. She is unknowingly involved with and assisting you in stabbing her son in the back while you're having an affair. Do you think she would be watching your children if she knew what was going on? Oh, please. You're one to talk about being narrow-minded. You've got it all wrong. If I may give you another point of view on the situation, I see this as nothing but a positive for her. I want to make sure that my divorce goes as smoothly as possible. I will make sure that Jim gets custody of the kids. In a way, I'm doing Jim and his mother a favor. She will be able to spend as much time as she wants with her grandchildren. She won't have to deal with me anymore, too. Another major plus for that awful woman. I can't stress enough how absolutely unreasonable everything that you are saying is. In other words, it sounds like you are more than happy to give up custody of your children and leaving all of the responsibility to your husband. Of course. I wouldn't want it to go any other way. I would like to have children with Trevor someday. It'll be like a completely fresh start for the both of us. I am not particularly fond of the thought of having my children from my previous marriage growing up together with the new family that I want to start with Trevor. I mean, don't you think that it would be a bit uncomfortable? Is that really how you feel? At this point, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I appreciate your honesty about everything. It doesn't seem like you've been dishonest with me based on what I've heard from Trevor. There's absolutely no reason for me to be dishonest about our relationship at this point. I've been telling you the truth. We are really, truly in love with one another. There's nothing else to it. You may have been honest with me, but whether or not whatever there is between you and Trevor is genuine remains to be seen. None of it matters to me anyway. All I care about is making sure I have all the details I need to get a clear picture of this whole mess. Give me a break, Samantha. I've been direct with you about everything, haven't I? I don't understand why you won't stop talking about Trevor and I in such an awful way. Trevor and I just want to be happy together. Is that so much to ask? Don't we deserve it as much as anyone else? There are some things that you and I will never see eye to eye on, Andrea. Let's just drop it, all right? If I have to hear any more about how in love you think you are, then I think I'm going to lose my dinner. You aren't as funny as you think you are. You can be so hateful sometimes, Samantha. Anyway, that's enough of that then. I'll be going to see a lawyer in the next couple of days. I will keep you filled in. A lawyer? What do you need a lawyer for? You keep saying that you don't want this divorce to take any longer than it needs to, right? A lawyer will make things go a lot more smoothly and quickly when it comes to handling alimony and our joint assets. Ah, I see. Well, when you put it that way, I suppose it does make sense and would be much faster. Alimony won't be any issue, of course. I'm sure you already know that it won't be any problem for Trevor to handle. That goes without saying. Is that so? Well, that's comforting to hear. Well then, I'll be sending documents to finalize the divorce over to Trevor as soon as the details are figured out. In the meantime, he most certainly isn't going to be staying here. What do you mean? Why wouldn't he be? Because we're getting divorced? I don't want or need him around now that I've had my opportunity to speak with him about everything. So there shouldn't be any problems with me sending the documents to your address then, if he can stay with you. But, I mean, you aren't leaving the house? He is? That doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. The house is mine. All of the documentation for the home is in my name. Oh, I see. I had no idea that's how the two of you had arranged things. Well, that shouldn't be an issue. When Trevor and I come together in marriage, our belongings will become one another's all the same. Isn't that nice? Keep an eye on the mail to get the documents to Trevor as soon as possible. Oh, Samantha, I couldn't possibly thank you enough for everything. Thank you so much for making this process so smooth. It almost feels like a dream. I never would have imagined that all these pesky divorce settlements could be handled so quickly, and all thanks to you. This couldn't have turned out any better. My ex-husband has full custody of our children, And on top of that, Trevor said he would be able to pay the child support. It won't be long before we'll be applying for our marriage certificate. I just can't wait to start my new life with Trevor. Thank you so much, Samantha. I really do owe it all to you. Samantha, stop what you're doing right now. This is important. I have wonderful news to share with you. Whatever you're doing will have to wait. It's finally official, and I couldn't be happier. Trevor and I are finally husband and wife. Even though we have been living together for 3 months already, but it really just didn't feel the same knowing that we still weren't officially husband and wife. All of our waiting has finally paid off, though. Thank you for going through all of the trouble to go out of your way to get in touch with me to update me about your situation. I didn't want you to be out of the loop. You've been so involved in the whole process. It wouldn't be right to not keep you updated. It's nice to know that all of the effort wasn't for nothing. I do have something I'd like to ask you about, though. Oh? What exactly did you want to know? Do you mind if I ask where you and Trevor are living currently? We're living in my condominium together. My ex took our children and moved into a new place, so Trevor and I have taken the condo. Really? Is that so? We've been enjoying spending lots of time together without any interruptions. It really has been wonderful, especially now that we are newlyweds. Both Trevor and I have been disowned by our families, but honestly, it doesn't matter one bit to me. The only thing that matters is that I can be with Trevor. Did you ask your ex to move out of the condo, or did he volunteer to do that of his own accord? Isn't the condo being leased in his name and not yours? How exactly is that working out? Surely he would have canceled the lease. When exactly are you moving out and into your own place? I assume Trevor hasn't gotten anything if he's been living there with you. Oh, well, about that. Or did you have the condo changed over to be in your name? Had you not thought about any of this? I guess I hadn't thought about it. Well, I guess now that you mention it, I can't really remember having discussed it with my ex. I don't think we did anything in terms of documentation for our home. It sounds like you don't know anything about your living situation, or even have a backup plan. Don't you think you should be figuring that out? Or discussing something with your landlord to get it sorted out? Oh gosh. I can't believe I overlooked all of this. I was so caught up in enjoying my time with Trevor. I need to discuss this with him as soon as possible. We might need to find a new place to start our family together. Maybe we will be able to purchase our own high-rise condo downtown. It would be such a beautiful place for a family. I'm sure you've already made up your mind with what you want to do anyway. Oh, you know me so well. That reminds me. There is one last thing that I wanted to mention to you. What else did you want to know about? Feel free to ask. Why exactly did you get involved with Trevor to begin with? Be honest with me, because I don't think you have been. I think you left out some important details last time we talked to each other. What do you mean? Do you think I've been lying to you? Are you accusing me of having some kind of ulterior motive? If so, you've got it all wrong, Samantha. It really doesn't make a bit of difference to me that Trevor is making so much money. I mean, sure, it's nice that he is making 6 figures a year, but I would love him no matter what. 6 figures? It's true love. You shouldn't doubt me so much. The money really doesn't matter to me one bit. It honestly barely had any influence on me at all. Sure, it is lovely to have a man that makes so much money, but it's not like I went out of my way to find a man that is making over $100,000 a year. That would be just awful of me. It's only a coincidence that the man I fell in love with is so wealthy. Andrea, I think that maybe there is some misunderstanding. Trevor doesn't make nearly 6 figures a year. It's my career that had been bringing in most of our income throughout our marriage. What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know how you came under the notion that Trevor was the one making all of our money, but it simply isn't true. Maybe you misunderstood something that Trevor told you? I really don't know what led you to believe that he is rich. What in the world are you talking about? How could you be making all of the money? You are only working part-time, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. I do occasionally work a part-time job here and there, but that isn't where I have been making all of my income. I really have only been doing it to get out of the house occasionally and keep myself busy. My parents work in real estate, and I have been too. We do property and asset management. It's not very involved or time-consuming, so I try to keep myself busy with other things. But it is where all of my income is from. Your family is in real estate? But what about Trevor? Is he not involved in this business at all? No, he isn't involved in the slightest. Actually, now that we're on the topic, I don't think that he is even employed right now. How could he be unemployed? I believe that the company Trevor has been working for went totally bankrupt several months ago. Naturally, he was let go from his position. He had been saying that he wanted to use the opportunity to take up a new job where he could work mostly from home. That freelance job was barely paying any money at all, though. Fortunately for the both of us, I made enough to cover anything necessary to live comfortably. Since his new job allowed him to be at home throughout the week, we'd agreed that Trevor could take up some of the housework. Also, things like taking the children to and from school. It wasn't a terrible situation, even though he wasn't making as much money as he did at his previous job. But since he had been bringing the children to and from school, that's when you and Trevor started seeing one another. Rather than doing what he was supposed to and doing work from home, he ended up just wasting his time with another woman. Since he had been falling behind on his work, he lost that job too and hadn't been making any money at all. I can't believe it. But does that mean that Trevor still isn't working now? There's no way he could have gone this long without being employed. Well, if the situation hasn't changed since he started seeing you, I imagine that would be the case. I haven't been in touch with him since we finished the divorce, so I honestly don't have a clue. This can't be real. There's no way that he could be unemployed. How could he have covered all of the costs from the divorce? How could he be paying child support if he isn't working? Like I said, I haven't been in touch with him, Andrea. I honestly don't have a clue where he could have come up with money for any of that. If I had to guess, he probably took out a loan or borrowed the money from somewhere. That seems like the most plausible answer. He's in debt? It probably wasn't a good idea for him to let his work fall by the wayside while he was out having a good time, don't you think? Then he lied to me. He lied about making $130,000 a year. Why would he do that? I don't know whether or not he lied. It's possible you misunderstood him as well. Who knows? How could this be happening? That's something that only you can answer. While Trevor and I were filing our divorce, this had actually come up in one of our conversations. Trevor said that a little bit before the two of you started seeing one another, you had asked him about his yearly income. That's right. That's absolutely right. I remember having that conversation with him. I swear he told me he was making around $130,000 annually. I believe he told me that when you had asked about finances, he answered with our household income, rather than his own specific salary. Maybe you took that answer and interpreted it how you wanted? Household income! He had only just begun working his new job from home, and like I said before, he was barely making any money at all compared to what I was. Maybe that was the only appropriate answer he felt that he could give at the time. But none of this matters to you anyway, right? You said so yourself. The money didn't really matter to you one way or the other. Right. I did say that, didn't I? You said it's true love, and that money was never a part of your decision. So everything is all right. You weren't lying, were you? Well, even if he isn't rich or employed, he's still the man that you claim to love so much. But this isn't a matter of not having much money. He is unemployed. And in debt? I had no idea that this was the kind of situation he was in. Well, it seems that is your reality now. I am sure the two of you will be able to work together to pay off all of that pesky debt. The two of you will be able to save up to be rich in no time. I can't believe this is happening. This is not at all what I expected. Through miscommunication, or pure ignorance, Andrea was fully under the impression that Trevor was making over $130,000 a year. The bottom line is that with child support payments, divorce settlements, and whatever debt that he accrued in his time unemployed, Trevor and Andrea would not be able to cover all of the costs. As for the source of Trevor's debt, I've heard that he asked to borrow money from a friend that had a lot of investments in the stock market. Andrea turned her greedy gaze towards Trevor's wealthy friend and set her sights on a new goal. However, that dream was crushed within seconds. It didn't take long for Trevor to hear from his friend about what Andrea was doing, and not long after, the two were divorced. The settlement from Trevor and Andrea's divorce left her to deal with many of her newfound expenses alone. She ended up being in more debt than she ever could have imagined. Andrea tried to get back with her former husband, Jim, and Trevor tried to reconcile things with me. However, both Jim and I refused to entertain the thought. Now both Andrea and Trevor are trying to manage their new, lonely lives while paying off debts and settlements. The old adage still rings true to this day. The grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.